time without
It's going to be just like one by one going away. Good evening. Love seeing all of you here. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd love to thank our Lighting Festival ladies, the committee, for providing the wonderful food tonight. And they also, at the kickoff meeting, they provided the food for that night as well. So thank you for helping us out with that. We've enjoyed it. So just a quick background on what brought us here tonight. The City Council wanted our community members to be very involved in identifying what they see as opportunities and ideas that would benefit our city. The outcomes will be brought to council and become part of our comprehensive plan. So then we had Todd Streeter come in and assist our committee members with his his community action plan, also called CAP, to guide them along the way. It's my pleasure to offer a special thank you to all the committee members and your wonderful work, your dedication, time, efforts, and it's so appreciated. And we really thank you for stepping up. I'd like to introduce, we have 3 council members here tonight. Robert Bayer in the back, Carol Schumann, and Tim Grote. So we thank you for coming tonight. And
we don't get any applause.
Oh, I didn't even ask. So I'm done. Let's get on with the good stuff. And we'll have Todd Streeter come up and start the program.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
First, we have a microphone if we need it, but if we don't need it, that's fine too. So I will try to speak as loud as I can. But first, I want to thank the City Council for allowing this whole opportunity to happen. It is to be honest with you, it's kind of rare that cities will allow the community to literally drive all of the ideas with them stepping aside. But the outcomes when this actually does occur is stupendous, and you will see evidence of that this evening. I'd like to thank Sherry and staff for all of the coordination here too and making this all happen. So thank you very, very much. I also want to thank Also want to thank Jason Reeby, the principal here at the elementary school, as well as Jamie Agree, Community Ed, for making these arrangements so we could host this Community Action Plan presentation here at the elementary school. So we thank them very much. And again, thank you for providing food for Lighting Festival. So thank you. Before we begin the presentation, I just want to take a moment and provide you with some background on the Community Action Plan project. Unlike traditional methods, this is a true bottom-up engagement approach. It's the community that does drive the project. There's been no city staff, no professional planners, no one other than your own community has been involved in the creation of their recommendations this evening. So what you see tonight in their work is what they've done. It's what they've researched. They've even talked, in some cases, third party to find out more information so they can present as much information to you tonight as they can. The committee then began to focus on a number of recommendations and concepts that they've been working on. And in tonight's presentation, they will be offering their best work out of all the other options and ideas that they've been coming up with. Ultimately, the vision of Taylor's Falls and its future has been created by this group of dedicated community volunteers. Now, just to recap a few things here, we did kick off this project in January, late January, with a kickoff meeting, and we invited the whole community to come and participate on this process. But we did have about 20 people on the Community Action Plan Committee who have dedicated their time, effort, and energy and talents for the last 4 months. We started in February, meeting twice a month, and on most occasions, these subcommittees would be meeting in between those particular meetings as well. We have 5 subcommittees that each focusing on a very important aspect of not just the comprehensive plan, but more importantly, the essential components that actually create a successful and vibrant community. These committees have been hard at work identifying how the city can achieve and become successful in a vibrant future, and each of these committees will present their ideas tonight. Now, let's take for a second and talk about expectations, because this usually is kind of what comes up out of these projects. But the first thing is we want to talk about is vision, okay? So for any community to know where it's going, it must first have a vision. So what's a vision? It's a set of ideals. It's where it's what you want to strive for. It's what you want to work towards together as a community. You have to set the bar higher than it currently is. That's obviously how you achieve that success and vibrancy that we've been talking about. You have to, this vision, or in these ideas and the work that this committee has done, is the catalyst for the work that can be that change agent to make your future become reality. The vision that is laid out by the CAP committee is actually the pivot point from the past of Taylor's Falls to its future. And you will see in the presentation how they've been able to embrace both, which is very important. A new beginning and a bright, shiny new future where all the members of this community can play an indispensable role to bring about this incremental change. It does take a village to make a lot of things happen, so everybody does need to participate for those who have that interest to do so. So the question is, where do you see Taylor's Falls in the next 10, 15, or 20 years from now? That was the question that the CAP committee was set out to answer. This is obviously a question that comes up. What's it going to cost? We have a lot of recommendations to review. But if the first question that people ask themselves is what it's going to cost, you kind of miss the point about what vision is all about. You got to start with the vision. There's a saying that says, good ideas attract funding, and it's true. It's true. Many of these recommendations are actually low on cost and high on collaboration, and you'll be able to see what these are. And yes, some of these recommendations will require some community discussion and evaluation, which you'd expect. But these are not specifically taxpayer propositions. They are community projects that everyone in the community can support, help create, and even help fund. How can a community rally around a good idea that it wants to support? Like I said, there's a saying, good ideas attract funding. Now, you also have the benefit of having a community foundation within the Chisago area. I'm familiar with community foundations myself, having started one for the Lower St. Croix Valley. They are also an indispensable tool that could be available, and I'm not saying they would then pay for ideas or projects. I am really saying they can be a partner in trying to help make things happen. So hopefully, as a result from this process, conversations can be had, and they could be part of the process moving forward. So as we think about the next steps, or what we need to keep in mind as we think about the future, we are really in the yellow box, which is the vision. This is really the objective for the last 4 months, was to let the community actually create the vision. The next steps basically is like, okay, we got all these ideas, how do we make sense of them? And theoretically, you would take them and you would put them into 3 main buckets. One is a short term, another one's midterm, and another one's long term. So those that do require maybe some funding or more collaborative work from federal, state as well, those are going to be probably long-term projects that you work towards, but that's not the focus initially. The smaller ones, no cost, low cost, lots of collaboration, those are the ones that are short-term and easier to implement. So we just have to spend a little time kind of figuring out, how we separate these things. And then, of course, you create some goals and objectives to finish things off. And now you've got your work plan, basically, for the next 10 years. It's kind of fun. Then, once you've identified all of that, then you go into the community support. And that's when you start to get people to really want to pick a project that they want to help bring through the process and help it come through fruition. Now later tonight, after we are done here, I'm going to make this available to you, but we do have a little sign-up form for participation for all of those of you who weren't able to participate on this process, but would like to be involved as we get into the next stage of things. So we will get those out to you shortly. So tonight is the beginning of an evolution process to usher these recommendations and many others to follow to build a successful and vibrant community you want for the next decades to come. Now, before we get into the presentation, I do want to note that some of these concepts or recommendations might be similar from committee to committee, and that's okay. Because in smaller communities, there is overlap, as you can imagine, right? So, but each committee may take a different angle or twist on a recommendation, but you'll actually see how your community is really a web. If you think of a spider's web, you see all the little nodules that create the different sections, but everything is connected to everything. As you see the presentation tonight, think about that, because that's truly what you have in any community is a web. And the web is what creates community, or the fabric of community. So with that, I would like to introduce our first presentation. It is from Creating Community, which is pretty much land use and housing. And their goal or focus was to assist city staff with updating the overall geographical planning and housing needs to meet new opportunities, emerging demands, anticipated growth, and future land uses. I would like to introduce Alyssa and Greg. Yay.
I think you're going to start, right?
Yeah, great. All right, thanks. That's a good introduction. So we started off with a quote here. Cities have the capability of providing something for everybody only because and only when they are created by everybody.
Could you use the microphone?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
You just need interesting turn on.
How about that?
Super.
Okay, great. Yeah, so with that quote, we thought it really tied into this whole CAP process, and personally, it was great to just be a tiny part of this broader exercise here. So, yeah.
We're just going to pass the mic back and forth. So Todd mentioned the vision statement, and all of the groups put together their sort of version of a vision statement. So ours included increase economic viability downtown for residents and visitors, expand available housing options and density within existing neighborhoods, that got loud, and maintain connection with the river, the natural environment, the rural aesthetic, and our history. We won't be doing this with every other slide, but just in the beginning.
So then the guiding principles for our group, when we were early in the process, we kind of did this 3-question exercise. And coming out of the 3 questions, one of them was like, what do you really like about Taylor's Falls? What's really something you love? And what we saw on kind of the relevant land use answers was everyone said it's quaint. They love the history. They love the small town feel. They love the connection with the river. They love the connection with a rural feel. And so as we kind of put together our guiding principles and the rest of the work, we focused on how do we maintain that? That's something we all already like. And how do we maintain that as we want to grow as a city, both in revenue, both in economic growth and the actual size of the city? How do we still hang on to the feeling of the stuff we really like already? So the actual principles we have here are work together to celebrate the historic nature of our town while working together for change. We'll encourage a diverse population with intentional growth. We'll work to create community spaces where both locals and tourists can feel welcome, and celebrate what's working and work together to examine further opportunities.
Okay, it's me for a couple slides.
Yeah.
So the first topic or concept that we really latched onto was built history and how we can encourage interaction with our historical, cultural, and societal significance of Taylor's Falls. So one thing that we're already doing and doing well are we have historic districts. So the Angel Hill Historic District, 27 buildings and sites that are listed nationally, and this is one of our sort of shining historic areas. And then we also have heritage preservation sites and districts that are locally designated. There's 12 of them in the area or in town. Cabacong Cemetery, some houses and buildings downtown. So other places that are significant to the built history. One thing that we came up with, and you will hear this with other groups, or one thing we thought of is that we can really capitalize on our history, on our historic features, and that architecture and all of the built history here that makes us so unique and special and wonderful. And so these two bottom pictures are just some very rough renderings of potential signage that could be around town with about the history here, a view of downtown Main Street in 1909 with indications of what was there, what your view would have been like. Up by the community center, there's a view of the river and what downtown was like in the 1800s with information. So the next one, so sort of a walking museum and tell our important stories as people are making their way around the community. I mean, people walk everywhere within Taylor's Falls, so it'd be really wonderful to have more information and more visual. I don't know. I think history and old pictures. We have so many of them, and they'd be really neat to do that in town, and sort of like more of a brand and a feel for Taylor's Falls. So the three main points that we thought would be our geology, the people, and our industry, and then again that built history and our earliest structures and how the town came to be. So then the second one that we talked about was placemaking, and this is something that all of the groups talked about in the very beginning of this process. So create spaces for visitors and residents to feel welcomed and engaged, and just expanding on placemaking a little bit. Two sentences that I think are helpful to understand sort of what we're doing here and what this means. Inspire people to collectively reimagine and reinvent public spaces as the heart of every community. And to be successful, cities need destinations. They need destinations that give us an identity, an image to the communities that help attract new residents, visitors, and investment and businesses. So something that was noted and you'll see in pretty much all the groups, regardless of our theme or our topic, was that we are lacking spaces for residents to gather and for visitors to hang out, have a picnic. So some ideas that we came up with, which these will be expanded on later, an amphitheater, replacing the dam with a rock rapids series to bring back the rapids of what the falls was, before the dam came in the early 1900s. Some intuitive crossing points to get people through town to the park, maybe over to Wisconsin, in a different way, a food hall, a playground. There's a lot of opportunities for that. So a little expansion on one of the ideas, sort of big vision that we thought would be really neat, is to create a link between public spaces for both our cities. So, Taylor's Falls, St. Croix Falls, we're so close, but we do feel kind of disconnected, and to walk across the Highway 8 bridge and then up Highway 87 to get there would be really neat if we could have a more inviting pedestrian connection. And so if you want to go to the next one, so we're like, a cool bridge would be neat, like that would be fun. I mean, we don't know the viability of any of this, but it's fun to imagine what it could be. Or the next one, there's a way to do a dam replacement to sort of make it gradual, where there are pathways where you could walk across. So there's it could be a really neat way to sort of make it more pedestrian and less, and a little bit more like upfront for people to experience it. And I think it goes over to you.
So one spot we identified as a real strength right now is the primary entry into town from both locations. So as you're coming into town, coming down the hill, it's such a natural and scenic spot, and then the city just kind of reveals itself at the end, and that kind of contradiction between the rural and then this downtown that pops up is a real strength, and something I think speaks to the answer of kind of the 3-point questions. And so when we talk about housing and some of the development ideas we have coming up, they're not like strict zoning ideas, but just trying to keep the spirit of that alive right now. The fact that there isn't sprawling neighborhoods, there isn't a bunch of small residential developments that you're driving through. You get to come from from the rural area down the river, and bang, there's the downtown in a really defined unit. Trying to keep that spirit moving forward is kind of the overarching goal of what we're looking at for zoning recommendations. So housing, our kind of the way we summed it up was to expand available housing options with increased density and intentional growth. Strategies include increased rental options in both the type of rental options and the quantity of rental options available. Maintaining ownership affordability in relation to a lot of other places in the area right now. Looking at senior housing options, attracting new residents, and then working to find a way for clean and safe hotels and motels for our visitors and guests. So some of the ideas for increasing the density of our current housing stock is ADU, additional dwelling units that you can add to current properties. So it can be kind of a mother-in-law suite, if you will. It can be a rental unit attached to a main structure, and finding ways to increase the density of the strong residential neighborhoods we have now, leveraging the infrastructure that's in place and not sprawling out beyond kind of the defined edges of the community we have. Another option there is for allowing smaller houses with smaller footprints within the area, dividing lots into smaller buildable lots. Whether that's a small house or a tiny house, those are kind of relevant sizes, but the idea of being able to think small and infill the defined neighborhoods we have now. And then intentional growth. So ending on just design guidelines to consider for construction and adaptive reuse. So as we bring new residents, new business, increased economic activity into the city, just thinking about how we can maintain what we do like about the city now and looking at some guidelines to do that. Neighborhoods and streets, the scale should be compatible with neighboring structures, respect the rhythm of the streetscape, and building heights should be considered in choosing roofing forms, architectural style, and kind of relate to the context. Building and site, respect the site's natural slope and respond to natural features. We've got amazing bluff lines and views with the river, and just making sure that stays intact as development inevitably comes into town. The size should be compatible with the size of the property, considering front porch elements, and keeping an actual neighborhood feel, physical connection with your neighbors is important. And then accessory buildings, whether it's an accessory dwelling unit or just garages, accessory buildings in general should be compatible with the main building. Architectural details, we have building elements should be proportional with the scale of the building and its context, considering appropriate materials, and looking at some of the historic details and materials and trying to celebrate that, not necessarily in real strict form that you have to use a 12-12 roof and et cetera, but trying to stay in the spirit of the history of our place. And then good neighbor considerations, locating taller portions of buildings to minimize obstruction, considering the neighbor's views and placement, and minimizing the impact of exterior lighting on adjacent properties. So, yeah, that's kind of the end of our recommendation section.
Okay, great job. Thank you. Our next presentation will be community connectivity. It basically focuses on transportation infrastructure, and it is focused on assessing and identifying opportunities to enhance the various modes of transportation methods and future needs, supporting an active and well-connected community. And I will turn this over to Dominic.
I'm Dominic Radke. I got elected the community chair somehow. I was voluntold. Connecting ways and places to connect people to people. We want to improve the accessibility and engagement within Taylor's Falls by improving a pedestrian and vehicle traffic flow with an eye towards safety, informing people of the trail access, park access, and river walk accesses. Encourage pedestrian traffic through the downtown corridor. Some of our guiding principles: assess the needs within the transportation umbrella for residents and visitors. Ensure current and new opportunities are grounded, and maintaining and enhancing a welcoming environment. Address the needs for pedestrian, bicycles, and vehicle traffic. Areas of focus: parking, Bench Street improvements. Bench Street is Main Street. Wayfinding and information sharing. So everyone's favorite topic, parking. And these two parking lots, the Marmon lot on Main Street and the lower community center parking lot, the one right above Casey's below the community center. We are suggesting paid parking. This paid parking is for premium off-street parking. We have lots of visitors. One of the other communities is going to talk about numbers, but these visitors stress our infrastructure and our needs in town. They can help pay for it. To do that, we are just suggesting parking, paying for parking. Some general outlines: Memorial Day weekend through the end of October, high tourist season. Just Saturdays and Sundays and holidays. Not weekdays, just the weekends and holidays. Estimated top line revenue between 20 and 30K. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Parking revenue can be reinvested back into the city. A portion can go to the city general fund, a percentage can go to downtown redevelopment, maybe through the EDC. Some of the things we already talked about, we could do for Wanagan Days, lighting festival, different options there. Breakdown of how we came up with those numbers. This is really, I think these numbers are in line with, what we can do, but how much do you pay for a spot? Is it $7 or $10? Is it 3 hours of parking, or is it all day? How many times do you turn over a parking spot per day? 2 or 3 times? You're gonna lose a weekend every month of rain. So that's kind of how we threw this in here. So, but these are estimates. Again, top line revenue. So we're gonna probably gross 20% below that with sharing it with an outside vendor to support it. We can have some revenue, extra revenue coming to the city through this. Bench Street improvements, also known as Main Street. 3 specific areas we want to talk about. The intersection between the Sago House and Juneberry. I'm sure everyone has had an experience here. Try not to run over a pedestrian, or being the pedestrian, try not to get hit. We are suggesting adding a controlled crosswalk. So you think you push the button, lights come on, traffic has to stop. And this would be timed to only allow you to cross when the traffic light going up and down 95 would be red. So the idea when that is green and we want traffic to leave town, pedestrians are not crossing there, blocking traffic flow, which would potentially, we think, help get more traffic out of town and also be safer. Or suggest bump outs for crosswalks at the Saga House and at the Goat and also at Shooties. So crosswalk bumps out, some will come back here, are out here. The nearest example is St. Croix Falls. If you go out there, every sidewalk has a bump out to cross the street. So these are, the traffic can see you without you being in traffic and vice versa. Creates better visibility and also that controlled section crossing at Juneberry and Saga House. If there's lights there, people are going to go there to cross and hopefully not cross Highway 8. That will also help that situation. The next crosswalk downtown, kind of by Shoonie's right here, the community bulletin board right there if you're familiar. There we are also suggesting either bump outs or just a lighted crossing. You push the lights and you can cross. Again, you can see each other, vehicle, the pedestrian and vice versa. It creates a safer environment to cross. Another thing we've all experienced is intersections being blocked down Bench Street. You know, trucks, tractor trailers blocking intersections so you can't turn off or onto the road. So just better signage. It's a tough one, but we can try. Wayfinding improvements. So back to our favorite intersection in Taylor's Falls. When people, some of the busiest intersections are coming out of underneath the bridge and up by the Casey satellite lot, and the other one coming out of the community center, either that parking lot or the trailhead above it. Potentially more with the bike path coming down from City Hall. We want to get these people to the north side of First Street, to the Saga House. If they are on the south side, they are more likely to go play leapfrog across Highway 8. We want more signage down there. If you walk down there and actually look, there's less signage than one thinks. We need improved signage to help pull these people across the road immediately. The sooner we get them to the north side of that road, the better off we are. So physical signage, adding or moving some crosswalks. The whole idea, or maybe this is an example of a potential sign, but get them to the north side of that road. The Riverwalk. So bear with me here on some verbiage. We have two river trails in town. We have the Walter Mondale River Trail inside the state park. It's a mouthful. And then we have the Taylor's Falls City River Walk. We have two different names for very similar trails that should connect. So we'll come back to this slide and talk about the north end. We have, we'll call it 200-yard gap in that walking. So if people come out of the park or in the park at the Interstate Park roundabout next to the stone bathrooms, and they look around, where am I supposed to go next? Look at that wonderful Highway 8 crossing. Let's go over there. So we want to avoid that. We are suggesting putting signage throughout this area to promote where people should go with a little map. You know, we can talk details at the bathrooms along the way to get them from the State Park River Trail to the Taylor's Falls River Walk. Potentially renaming the Taylor's Falls one to match the name. Maybe just put City Trail underneath it. Otherwise, let's keep people moving through town. The goal of this is people who come visit Taylor's Falls come for the state park. It's a huge draw. Why not get them all the way through town on foot and through our business district? We have this wonderful trail here. Let's get them there. That trail currently has a beautiful start, beautiful, next to the yellow chair, excuse me, great location. Then it exits with this right next to the She Shop and River shoppers there, a nice trail. We can get them to here and then pull them up through town. The additional improvement we're suggesting is we can leverage existing city infrastructure to extend that trail through up to either the drive-in or River Street and bring people all the way up to Wanigan Point. We already have wonderful sidewalks. We've had discussions with XL Energy. They are open to opening that road and letting people go all the way to Wanigan Point. We thought this was high in the sky. This is doable. They are open to it, much more than we'd ever thought was possible. So we're gonna go up and use that point. Some other communities are gonna talk about this. Along the Riverwalk, we can go up to the dam, we can look at that beautiful area. If you've ever walked up there, trespassed, it's gorgeous. Wanigan Point. Another option we have is, we live in an Instagram world. The Devil's Chair no longer exists. Why not make a small or a large sculpture that we can all take pictures on, that people are gonna come to Taylor's Falls to look at? Put that along the trail somewhere. Information sharing. The city's Parks and Recs Commission is pushing out some new posters with QR codes for walking. This is just a mock-up of what they're doing. But the more we can let people make their own way through town using their phone, the better off we are. Going back to maps, so we have this interstate park map that they have a QR code throughout the park and on their maps. Brings you this amazing map, tells you where to go. Why can't we have one for Taylor's Falls? Tell them to come up through our wonderful trails. We have so many trails, we forget about them. We have the 2 trails I talked about, the Bluff Trail. We have the Swedish Immigrant Trail / the bike trail. Get people up there. I know I forget about it. If I looked at a map, maybe I'd find it. And that bike trail, you know, it's going to connect to Center City here soon. We can be at the end of that pipeline of people. Let's get them down into Taylor's Falls and vice versa. Wish list. So imagine here. Highway Bridge is slated for replacement in about 10 years. We've all heard that before, so. What if we change the pedestrian path on that? What would that look like? What happens if we remove the self-service satellite gas station into a city park, along with that whole construction of that intersection? It's all gonna change. Let's put some input into it. Some better spaces for community gathering and some mixed-use spaces. So these are some high-in-the-sky ideas for us. What happens if we put a bridge that was separate of the traffic, down below at the same level the pedestrian paths are already at? That people can look north and south on the river and take beautiful pictures. It's an idea. Some examples of that already being done at different bridges around the country. Maybe we put a bridge, this was in the old plan, from Interstate Park across where the rock wall is on Highway 8. Another idea. Similar thing. So this picture of that Casey's satellite gas station, well, what if it looked something like this? It's an idea. When that bridge goes for construction, it's going to be 5 years of planning. If we want something to look different there, we all need to show up at that first meeting and tell them what we want. I've been involved with the Osceola Bridge. They really didn't want to put a pedestrian path on it. Until everyone, that was the #1 comment, huge pedestrian path. So if we want it, we got to talk about it to them, the DOT and feds. So that would be the Rivard building in the background, just different ideas. So don't take this space as being the actual spot where this would happen. So we're looking at Sago House we're looking southwest, the old Springs Inn, the Goat. So what could go here? Parking garage, a small one. Oh, another parking garage with mixed use space on top, condos with parking down below. Who knows? Or a giant parking structure. Everyone wants more. All I hear is, I want more parking. Well, here we go. What do we want? Some more store space, just making us think. When we first came to this, the DOT lot just north of the drive-in, there wasn't proposals for businesses there. We know those are there. But what if we change zoning or something to make it look like this? That would fit our town. Think about the color schemes that we can dictate. It's an idea. Coming down Taylor's Falls, into Taylor's Falls from Highway 95, wouldn't that look awesome? Makes you think. Another idea. Ginormous, yes. If we think it should be 20 feet, let's do 40. Some great ideas. So I'll leave you with this thought.
Thank you, Dominic. Okay, our next presentation is from Quality of Life. Basically parks, trails, and recreation. Its focus is very simple: to develop opportunities to enhance the active lifestyles of residents of all ages to enjoy. And Nick will guide you through their ideas.
Thank you, Todd. Hey, folks. So I'll be walking you through quality of life concepts this evening. So we put our heads together and came up with some ideas to improve quality of life for residents and visitors here in town. We picked a quote to represent our group from a famous South Korean diplomat. Sustainable development is the pathway to the future we want for all. It offers a framework to generate economic growth, achieve social justice, exercise environmental stewardship, and strengthen governance. Our vision statement we crafted is make Taylor's Falls the reflection of our beliefs in community pride, spirit, along with embracing the nature and beauty of the St. Croix River Valley, creating a true cohesive connection to residents, businesses, visitors, with welcoming parks, trails, neighborhoods, community destinations, and events. Enhancing the quality of life for our community by offering unique experiences for all ages, abilities, and interests. Here are some of our guiding principles. You can see they reflect a lot of what I just went through as well. I won't go through them all. So our first concept, I'm sure many folks are familiar with the Bryant Environmental Laboratory that's just west of town. Its current status is it's roughly a 60-acre property, mixed hardwoods, exposed bedrock, outcrops, and some seasonal seepage creeks. It was deeded to the school district back in the 80s, and from our research, the only stipulation was to be used for school purposes in the document that we found. Current status, you can see here, it's kind of like this L-shaped parcel here with the transmission line running through it. It has not been maintained except for one generous gentleman who's mowed an initial path at the beginning for years. Other than that, it's kind of been sitting idle for quite some time. The current status of the access is basically limited to one space to park in front of that sign right here, and you're not going to fit a school bus, you're going to fit one car. And trails are difficult to follow, they're not marked, and we don't know of any funding or projects slated by the school district to improve any of them at this point. Existing boardwalk and bridge are in disrepair. You can see kind of, I know where this trail is, but I would be hard pressed for someone else to follow it. And it's, it's a safety hazard as well with some of those wooden structures. Again, not aware of any funding currently, but with talks with Jason Reeby and learning about the history of the site, there's a lot of desire to improve it and make it more accessible, and make it something that students could actually access safely. Kind of a way down the road concept we thought of too that would be interesting is to actually make a safe route to school kind of path leading from the elementary school to the south end of the property, so that, you know, students wouldn't have to get bussed in. And hopefully we can also improve parking at the current site. Future vision for it, possible dual ownership or just collaboration with the school district to make improvements that both the school district and residents can use. Improve parking like I had mentioned, clearly mark the trails, maybe extend the trails leading to different geographical areas in the site. Like I said, it's very diverse. There's a lot of elevation. It's very, very cool. Yeah, and one thing that's not on here that I'd note, folks have been to the Burt Family Preserve in St. Croix. It's a great example of how a property can be marked. It's used by the Ice Age Trail Alliance as well. There's multiple groups coming together to make a multi-use trail system that's really top rate. So check that out if you want a vision of what this could be. Let's see, I think I got ahead of myself a bit. So I think I already said all this. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's a fairly large piece of property and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's just right on the edge of town. So that's our first one. Next is, we're calling it the Bluff Alley Overlook Trail. So a little background on what I'll be talking about. Northern Pacific had a spur line that ran through Taylor's Falls up until the late 40s. You can see here on this end of the photo, the line running north. The grade still exists, paralleling Bench Street. It's no longer open anymore. It's all wooded at this point, but it's about 800 feet from the portion that we're discussing, running parallel north to south with Bench Street. So our idea is to utilize that space and the current city easement that exists on the old railroad grade as just a simple and effective walking trail. Again, just like the other committee was mentioning, just moving people through town, providing areas to go up and down Bench Street without having to be on the sidewalk, and to be able to enjoy the bluff face and just the natural beauty of town. So we're thinking, as you can see, it runs right behind here, and the terminus is kind of by Coffee Talk, and then it would be able to pool into River Street. So it would be another one of those connectivity moments to really start to connect a lot of those pieces of the web together. And it would be a great opportunity to showcase some of that history of the railroad site. You know, maybe have some placards that can share that story. Similar to that, just across the road, is the Riverwalk extension. Again, connectivity just covered this, and that's, again, like Todd said, the really cool part about all these groups coming up with similar concentric ideas without talking to one another. It just shows that a lot of the stuff is on our minds. So right now, what's it called? The
Taylor's Falls River Walk.
The Taylor's Falls River Walk, you know, already is back in here, and then it ties in behind the shops, and it dead ends, you know, roughly behind the alley shops there. So our proposal would be, again, using an existing easement to try to connect that into River Street, you know, maybe creating a bridge over, there's a small creek there, and just moving people through town instead of encountering a dead end and kind of knowing where to go. Adding picnic tables, places for people to stop, enjoy the river, enjoy town. And on top of that extension, it would be moving people up River Street towards Wanigan Point again. So maybe adding a bike lane, for example. maybe having art installations along River Street to draw people up and through town. Showcase local art, get it on a rotation, you know, have it be something that people want to come and see and something that changes over time. And this is going to tie into our next idea, which again, another intersecting idea is a Wanagan Point Trail. So as the folks mentioned already, talks with Excel, hearing their openness was really encouraging. It's a very iconic spot, Wanagan Point, Wanagan, the whole thing. You know, local history, prehistory, geological history. There's so much at that site that could be enjoyed. So again, a collaborative moment with other entities, so Xcel Energy, opening that up, maybe making a small trail system that could just run, you know, up to the point and back down, and then return people back into town from the north. They being Xcel, they're willing to help with a lot of things, and possibly even providing, you know, some benches and stuff like that. So that would be a really cool future concept. Again, I'm talking ahead in my slides. So our next one is Heritage Park restoration. So I believe it was acquired from DOT a while back, but it's about 8 acres. Everyone's familiar with it, north of town. Great views, and primarily used as a rest stop currently. And luckily, recently, it's been getting a little more love through EDC with some of the farmers market activity last summer. But I think there's a lot of improvement that can still be done here. Current situation, there's just a lot of open area that, although beautiful, is fairly degraded. It's mostly spotted knapweed and brome. I'm just a botanist, and I'm so sorry. Anyway, it's weeds, a lot of weeds. And there's just a lot of potential for it to be just more aesthetic, more environmentally valuable, and could really just showcase a lot of the local natural history of the area. And again, to get people to move through the property and enjoy it. So we're proposing doing a prairie restoration on part of the property to just improve biodiversity, aesthetic appeal, benefit soil and water health, as it is already fairly degraded soil anyway. And it would just provide a much more pleasing view. I mean, if you've been up there, if you could picture seeing flowers blooming from May to October instead of just mowed grass and knapweed, I mean, it would just be phenomenal. And again, I'll point to across the river. If anyone's been to the Deer Lake Conservancy, they've done extensive prairie restoration and trails, and it's just an absolute joy to go and walk through those. So this would be an opportunity for us to do something similar on a smaller scale. And our last concept, the playground public access, very cool part of this whole exercise is we are going to present the idea, and in the process of talking, we accomplished it already. So we will be opening the playground to the public just during daylight hours over the summer with some volunteers that will help block up. And it'll just open a great public space for, you know, local families and kids to enjoy, and again, a beautiful view, as we can see out the, well, you can't really see out the window now, but it's just a great resource that's sitting right there. And it's just a turn of a key, and there we go. So already a success. So. And thank you to many members of the group that helped make this happen. A lot of us, you know, have been in collaboration, so it's a team effort. But that's it. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Nick. Our next next presentation is downtown revitalization. And that focus is to create wide-ranging ideas that will reinvigorate the downtown as a place for community to gather day and night, 7 days a week. And Katie will walk us through that.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Katie. And I was chosen to present for our downtown revitalization. So the quote we chose is, "There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about." And that felt where we're about, or where we're at in Taylor's Falls, still figuring out what we want it to be. So my question at first is, what is downtown Taylor's Falls? We intend to walk you through some ideas, but we want you to think about it too. I believe the next slide, I do want to clarify, this is not how we view downtown Taylor's Falls at all. It's just meant to illuminate an idea. First though, we have some important factors in our downtown area. So first, Taylor's Falls has a population of 1,054. The 2023 average individual income is about $41,000, and the household income average is about $61,000. And there are only about 508 households in Taylor's Falls. Meanwhile, there are approximately 327,000 people that visit the Minnesota Interstate State Park annually, and that was also in 2023. So that's a lot of people that we have as tourists. So this is what I was referring to. Like, we don't view downtown like this. It's just to illuminate an idea of what draws you in more. These images or these. So it's pretty incredible how much upkeep or restoration can do. And so we were thinking that as downtown businesses are thinking about improving the paint or redoing some things, that we have a facade program for them to use. So these are just some examples of downtown businesses that could exist or how they could look. We were also thinking blade signs could be helpful, and some of the businesses already have these, but they come perpendicular from buildings and hang so that pedestrians can see all the businesses as they walk down the street. And these especially are very artistic examples of what that would look like, and so it would give businesses an opportunity for artistic creativity as well. Then we were also thinking it would be lovely to have all four seasonal decorations, and we picked this image especially because Taylor's Falls already does amazing Christmas decorations on the light posts for the lighting festival. So that one is already taken care of, but we were also thinking of maybe mums for fall, and then spring and summer flowers, and now those could probably double dip, or we could do fake flowers in the spring, so we have something pretty to look at before the flowers can actually grow in our zone. So those were some other ideas to make downtown beautiful. We were also thinking it could be helpful to showcase our Taylor's Falls Community Center and historic train depot. I don't know if you can see it in this image because there's trees in front of it. So we were envisioning that we could cut those trees down or trim them so that you can see it, because this is the building I'm referring to, and you can only see about a quarter of it. And I believe there were some ideas where that could be renovated to have a porch off the front or a deck for people to enjoy the view, because the view is really pretty of the valley from there. And these are just some other possible funding for the facade program or the downtown improvements, again, to support the business owners in making it a beautiful space. Okay, so next we have our town wish list. So these were some ideas that came up as we were exploring what we really want in downtown Taylor's Falls that we don't have. So some things that came up continuously was the idea of a general store. So this is an image of the general store in Marine on St. Croix. And so it could have a few of the goods that you need, like butter or milk or some of those things that you might need to run into town for, but you don't really want to drive across the river to go to the grocery store all the way. Or it could have local goods by local creators and that kind of a thing. Then another store that came up was to play on the idea of how many outdoors activities we have, like the hikers and bikers and rock climbers and people at Interstate. to have an outdoor store. And this is an image of the inside of the Lake Superior Trading Post in Grand Marais. I just really love that store, so I figured it was a pretty good representation, as they have different sections for different things like backpacking and artistic books about nature and things too. Another one that came up very often was a year-round restaurant. So an example that we used was the Watershed Cafe in Osceola as a pretty successful year-round restaurant in the area that I think we all like to go to. But that's just an example, so we would just like to have a Taylor's Falls version of that. So the right side image is just an idea of what a cafe could look like on the inside, where we can actually like hang out, have a meal, bring your kids, that kind of a thing. Another thing we were dreaming about was just the idea of having a park for kids downtown, which was also echoed in other presentations too. So this is just an example of the Teddy Bear the Teddy Bear Park in Stillwater. So we've heard some stories of people driving all the way from into Wisconsin to go there and bring their kids to that park. So having kind of a destination fun park in Taylor's Falls could be another way to bring in people or entertain people while they're here. And now we have our town culture wish list for downtown, or just like ways to get together in some of the off seasons as well for the residents to enjoy. And so one thing that came to mind, I believe this was around maple syrup season when we were talking about it as well, but having a maple syrup festival of some kind where we can do maybe tours of people collecting the syrup or the sap, and maybe helping them collect the sap at the same time, just so it's not too much of a cost to the people doing the maple syrup. But doing that and having the bonfires where you're burning the sap, or boiling the sap, hopefully not burning, sorry. And potentially like a maple syrup contest where someone comes in and judges your creations, or other maple syrup goods. Like they have, I think, you pour maple syrup on snow and make those little maple syrup on stick kind of thing. Or another one, and this was another fun one that is actually happening already that we talked about. This is a peony event, and it is from June 7th, or on June 7th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Cherry Hill Park. And there are 110 varieties of peonies at the moment, and it's growing. So this was an image just Tuesday of Cherry Hill, and it will be blooming soon-ish. And so that's an event that's coming up. Next, we have the idea of a rhubarb event, because a lot of us do have access to rhubarb if we don't have it ourselves, and so it could be a time we get together and share our baking creations or other things that you make with rhubarb, and just get together. Another one could be a chili event. Again, make chili, everybody can eat some chili, maybe we have a contest. But it would be another way to get together, and then that one would feed a lot of people. And then another idea would be to do a 5K in the proposed trail systems that we've been talking about. So that would be a great way for people to be able to familiarize themselves with the trails that we create, and maybe the map system and other things that we were dreaming up as well. And I do believe also that there is an organization that's trying to do already some hikes together in Taylor's Falls, so this would be along that vein too. So we put our vision statement and guiding principles at the end to try to walk you through a little bit of the ideas first before we told you exactly what our ideas were. So our vision statement is that Taylor's Falls is a scenic riverfront town that attracts and welcomes both residents and visitors alike. The St. Croix River Valley and Interstate State Park are central to Taylor's Falls' sense of place and well-being. Because Taylor's Falls hosts so many visitors, we envision a downtown that is vibrant, attractive, and thriving. We envision development opportunities that harmonize with the need for conserving Taylor's Falls' small town historic character and its great natural beauty. Okay, and then our guiding principles. So storefronts will be aligned with the historic nature of Taylor's Falls and supported by a city-run facade program to help with funding, or those links that I included as well. Blade signs for each business would be useful for visibility to pedestrians and provide an opportunity for artistic creativity. Seasonal decorations would provide a welcoming image throughout the year. Downtown business opportunities will be based on local values, the historic character of Taylor's Falls, and tourists visiting for the scenery and natural resources in the area. We'll provide an image that will be in character with historic Taylor's Falls and the St. Croix River Valley. And we will strive to balance pedestrian and vehicle needs in the downtown area due to Bench Street, Minnesota 95 being a state highway. And so what I'll leave you with, again, is just what is downtown Taylor's Falls.
Great job, Katie. Thank you so much. And now, our fifth and final presentation is from Community Pride. Community Pride, his focus is to define the community's brand related to the quality of the community's safety, schools, facilities, social services, all supporting the community's health and well-being. And we have Jenny.
Thanks, Beth. All right. Well, I am presenting for the Community Pride Committee this evening. And one of the quotes that we came up with was, "The best thing around I have ever seen comes from small towns and big dreams." And we thought that's kind of what we're doing here, right? We're a small town, but we've got big dreams for the place that we all live here. And we thought, well, what does that look like? What's the vision of that experience? And we came up with this, that Taylor's Falls is where nature, history, and imagination meet, a town shaped by stone, water, and time. We honor our roots not by standing still, but by building forward with care, with creativity, and with a deep sense of place. So then we thought, well, what are some things that we need to think about as we're trying to get to that vision? What are sort of the guiding principles? And here's what we came up with. We value natural scenic beauty, historic small town charm, community connection, and future growth. We desire the input of a community that shares ideas and concerns and works together to make change. We believe a community is stronger when its residents have opportunities to gather and connect. And we aspire to build a vibrant community that supports its residents and businesses while also welcoming visitors. So we had a few ideas that we came up with that we thought kind of might help us get there. But before I launch into those, I want you to just think about for a moment, what does community pride look like or sound like to you? Just kind of think about that in your head for a moment. Well, what we decided it kind of looked like or felt like was when you live in a place that you are so excited about the place that you live, you can't wait to tell other people about it and the things that are going on there. You feel connected to the people that you live near, and you're all kind of working towards the same goal. You have the same thing in mind. And Todd gave us sort of an image that we thought kind of worked with that. And it was this, an old-fashioned barn raising experience, right? Where everybody's working together towards a common goal for the community. They're excited about it. It's something that's going to be useful, that's going to help sustain the community in the future. And they're all rolling up their sleeves to kind of make it happen. So that's the picture that we had in mind as we were moving through these ideas that we'll follow here in just a moment. Here was the first idea or project that we came up with, and this might sound a little bit familiar. We decided that downtown maybe needed more gathering spots. We were, as part of this experience, the community action planning, we were gathering together a couple times a month with our neighbors, some down the street, some further away, and we really enjoyed that opportunity. And so we thought it would be nice if there were more places downtown where we're bumping into each other and we're meeting with our friends and our families. So here's some ideas about maybe what that could look like. We thought maybe pie in the sky, the Springs Insight, the former Springs Insight, wouldn't that be a great sort of downtown central hub for things? Maybe that could be a place that connects our community. Maybe it supports local businesses there. Maybe it enhances or communicates access to nearby trails. What if this was a modern town square in the heart of our town? It could be a multi-use place right downtown where people could gather, unwind, connect, celebrate. Maybe you have covered spaces, green spaces, places where people can sit. There's a lot of things you could use that space for. Maybe the farmer's market moves right downtown where you have even more people that are out coming to it. You could have art fairs, seasonal activities. You could have art that's moving down there, a performance stage where you could go and listen to a concert downtown. Maybe there's local artisan shops that are set up there. Maybe that general store is right downtown there, right? And there's a great place to sit out front of it. Maybe there's co-working spaces there, or a public restroom, which would be nice to have downtown too. We thought there were a lot of opportunities there because it's so centrally located. Well, if that's too pie in the sky and we want to go a little bit smaller, we had another idea. And that is, what if we just did a little pocket park? Excuse me, that's a mouthful. You saw some great drawings from some of the other groups about what that space could look like. The city already owns, part of that space there. So what if that became a gathering spot? What if you had a little playground down there? It's right by the river, connects the park and the downtown, or something just as simple as a shaded spot where people could gather and hang out with family members or friends. So that was one of the ideas that we had, was creating more spaces to gather. And along those lines, our next idea was to have more experiences that would sort of gather us together, making great use of the city trails that we have, the city parks that we have, and spaces like the community center. So these events might be designed specifically for residents. Maybe they would be on weekday evenings when it's a little bit quieter and easier for us to get downtown and park places. Maybe it's an outdoor movie, or just a family fun night in the community center downtown. So you'd be utilizing these community spaces. Maybe there's a town committee that's created to sort of help plan these things, and once a month there's something that you could go to meet up with your neighbors. Board game night, maybe in the winter someone came up with at the community center, a downtown scavenger hunt. It sounds like some of these ideas are also kind of in the works. One of the ideas was a walking club in Taylor's Falls, making use of all the great city trails that we have, or the state park trails. And that's kind of already happening. Maybe the park offers more programs on quieter weekdays, so community members can come down there and take advantage of the park space more. So we have more experiences where we're gathering, we have places where we're gathering, and then the last sort of piece of that was to better promote those opportunities so we all kind of know what's going on. And that could be connecting to existing websites. Maybe someone volunteers, or we contract someone to do some social media support, or we create a web page that has more information about these events. There is an existing great resource out there already, stcroixvalley.com. They've got awesome resources about things to do in the area, plus they have a whole calendar of events of things that are pretty specific to close by in our area here. So maybe we promote something like this that already exists as a way to better inform what events are going on. We also thought it might be helpful to have a map. Does that sound familiar? Some of these are kind of being echoed, maybe because they're really great ideas, right? So I found one from Lindstrom where they've got a great map. We have so many fun places to explore out here, but it would be nice for us to know where we could go. It'd be nice for visitors to know where they could go. And our last idea kind of went down to the downtown area, just thinking, when you think of your town, I think a lot of us kind of picture that downtown space. And so we thought about, how do you keep that small town charm downtown, and can you enhance it maybe with some unifying features or some branding down there? And I pulled up a picture here. Our city has looked like so many different things over time. It's had a lot of different phases and changes, and so we thought about, what's one way that we make a change that just continues to improve that space. So we wanted to imagine the best version of ourselves and shape a town that matches, a town so thoughtfully designed that the right people feel it in their bones and the wrong ones just pass on through. And so we thought, okay, what are some small things that we could do to just kind of bring us to that next level in the downtown area? We wanted to create a welcoming atmosphere that highlights both the unique history and the landscape. That probably sounds familiar, right? Encourage new downtown buildings to integrate the historic identity of the town, And then use some cohesive images and some branding on the city signage. So when you go downtown, you know that that's Taylor's Falls, you know the signs that you're seeing are the city signs, and it just has kind of a cohesive look to it. So here's some examples. This is from a bike path, but you can see that their signs all have some kind of reflected colors or patterns on them. And so you know that that's their brand. Everything you're seeing here you know is from the bike trail. We could do something like that with the downtown area too. We've got a light pole banner there, and we thought something really simple in addition to the lovely hanging baskets that we have. Maybe we have something about Taylor's Falls that has a beautiful image of the river and a slogan on it, and that's downtown. If you wanted to sort of weave in some of that wayfinding that some of the other groups were talking about, you could also make those banners directional signs. So they're all the same color, they're helping people get where they need to go, letting them know what things are available to them downtown. So this is just a couple of the ideas that we thought might kind of make the city look a little bit more cohesive as you come into that downtown, add a little bit of energy and sort of color down there. Well, those were the ideas that we came up with, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for listening to all of us and these ideas. I'm going to turn things back over to Todd here.
Thank you, Betty. Okay, as we start to wrap things up here, next steps, that kind of refers back to the diagram that we saw at the beginning where we have the involvement, the passion of the people in this community, right? So the next steps are to figure out, well, how do we start to orchestrate this opportunity? There's no real clear answer on how to do that necessarily. These things do take time. But we obviously need to have people raise their hand and still want to be involved. So that may not be just the CAP committee that put the work in the last 4 months, but that could be people here this evening who weren't part of this committee. It also could be friends and neighbors who then learn about this process and the presentation and all these great ideas, and they want to sign up and get involved. Believe me, there's always lots of opportunity for community to get involved in wonderful things about your community. So this is just the start, as we said earlier. So in just a few minutes, we'll make these forms available for you to fill out. There's also a QR code for those of you who have your phones handy. So what I'd like to do now, for those of you who certainly may have some questions about any of these recommendations, we give you this opportunity now to ask any questions or share your thoughts or comments about tonight's presentation. Questions, comments?
Well done.
Yes, really well done.
Tim?
I could just sense the energy of the groups when you were presenting. It felt good. It really felt good. They're great ideas. I can tell you put a lot of work and effort into it, so thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. A lot of interesting stuff brought up. Just want to say kudos to whatever committee's trying to tackle parking. Because generations have been trying to figure it out so far.
Well,
Kind of like a
everyone
Rubik's
wants
Cube?
Oh, man.
Everyone wants more parking spaces. We could fill the river in, but I don't think we're going to do that. Well, let's put a parking garage up. Again, it's a way to make more land.
Very good.
Partial joke.
Yes, sir.
I'm really impressed with the energy of the younger people, from my perspective, that I see coming together now. I've seen many initiatives that have tried at Taylor's Falls and haven't gone anywhere because of the old guard, or my generation and older. Too much was relied upon some of the old generation that have now moved on, and nothing really gelled because too much work was put on too few people and it fizzled out. I've seen it happen for the last 50 years, so I'm really impressed with what I see. If that energy can be maintained and properly channeled.
Excellent, thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. be very creative and make a lot of work for me. And I have to say, most of this is very feasible.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Exciting.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, Tim.
I'm gonna do a selfish plug. Whoever's working on the connections, the trails and stuff, don't forget about the Lions Parks.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, the trail out to Wanigan Point, if there's a way you could even extend that out long-term to the Lions Parks. We work really hard as Lions to maintain those parks and are a beautiful asset for the city. So somehow long range to connect those in, I think would be a great idea.
Yeah, we
And then
definitely.
Dominic.
I'm sorry.
Dominic,
Yeah.
didn't there used to be, or once maybe it happened, a kayaking event on the St. Croix under the bridge?
Yes.
It used to be a whitewater,
Yeah.
that was run through another organization. I don't, that went away.
Just an idea for,
Yeah.
you know, something different.
And Tim, just a point on the updates to the bulletin board downtown. The mapping there did increase to include the Lions Park on the map downtown there.
Thank you.
Sure.
More questions?
Just
Yes, sir.
reiterating, the concept of a town square is just so significant, and you think of all the places in the world that people find charming. They have a town square, and it is the place to meet and a place to do various things. So it should be designed very well with live, and it doesn't, you know, even the small space that's there now with the yellow chair could be used so much better. And then I love the idea of expanding it, you know, replacing the gas station with more space for that is wonderful.
The replacement of the hotel, having a park there, people come down the highway across the bridge, they'd see that park sitting there. Oh, I want to stop there sometime.
Tying in with all the trails, perfect.
Yeah.
More thoughts, questions, comments? Yes, sir.
I'm delighted that there was no discussion on cannabis being our future.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Well, it sounded like too, and I'm thinking about that hotel area again up there, and if it's a park or a connection or a hub that everybody sees, and they, in St. Croix Falls, they have right down below the bridge, they have that visitor center, and it sounds like that would be a great idea to then put in your maps and your information where all these things were, so people can go right there and then they'll know where everything is, and that makes it more grounded or connected.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent idea. Who else has thoughts, questions, comments? Elizabeth.
So developers or people potentially purchasing all sorts of properties, you know, Springs and MnDOT lot, whatever it may be, you know, they have their ideas and then they always ask me, what does the city want to see? So provided we have a few lots that are moving quickly on potential development, I'd like to get in direct connection with whoever has ideas on those two lots specifically that are open for development, because I do have people asking, and I'd like to connect them.
Excellent. That I'm sure
So
can be
can you
arranged.
facilitate that?
I think we can get that done. Absolutely. Absolutely. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Yes.
I already feel better that I live here after this presentation. There's just a lot of excitement about the collaboration and having a vision, no matter how long it takes. It just feels good. So I appreciate everyone's work.
That was very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Any more?
I'll come from
Peter.
the opposite end. I'm probably the youngest person in the room, and I just feel so grateful that I chose to be a part of this community that wants to stand up and do something across all generations. And that we have people who've been here for their whole lives and have been here and put love and effort into this town. And we have people who want to step up and make change and have that. Just Taylor's Falls is beautiful because of this.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the crosswalk light at the new area
amazing. It'd be amazing.
We're just driving and you want to get that bike because there's so much. Really got you, and all of a sudden it's, I just want to cross. And then next thing you know, you're back up in the drive. So yeah, we can help make that so that would be awesome.
Elizabeth?
Again, with connections, I get you all mixed up already. Whoever's working on that project, we are doing a highway task force. We're already, that ideas, now is the time to, that idea is already being worked on through that task force, so. But
Let's make a connection.
let's make a connection.
And somebody else had a question, a comment back? Yeah, Chris.
I was gonna say, it's been so nice. I just moved into town, and I was just trying to pay my water bill, and then it popped up, I'm like, I should just go meet some nice people. It's been really cool to be a part of the process. I have a background in marketing and branding stuff, so it's, you know, if anybody wants to utilize revitalization, I'm excited to be a part of it.
One moment, come up to City Hall.
Yeah. They don't buy you.
That's great. Any other questions, comments?
I got
Yes.
one more.
Yes.
As far as the crosswalk at the intersection where it's so awful, especially on weekends, I really like the idea of the roundabout there when they start thinking of the new bridge, which we have drawings of. I don't know. I think they went with Clarence Johnson, but I can find them. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying still.
And that's where the sculpture of the devil's
Yeah, there you go. That's where the sculpture, yeah, in the middle.
But you know what?
So people can walk to the middle.
Just try climbing it
Yes, sir.
I don't know, many people remember that when Highway 8 was rebuilt where the shoulders were sinking into the river a few years back. There was an initiative to try to get a gateway bridge to go from where Casey's is to the state park. It was only $1 million. Now it doesn't look like much money, but that's what stopped it then. They're going to do that bridge at that time and eliminate the whole problem, but it just didn't have the timing and the money behind it to solve the whole thing. It could still be done, but it's a little harder with an active highway now.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, Molly.
I'm on the, I was on the Quality of Life Committee, and if people like these ideas, I'm on Economic Development Commission with Peter and Buck and Diane and Chrissy, Lynn and Ruth is doing the farmer's market, and we're working really hard on implementing a lot of this, so if you guys wanna come to our meetings or you wanna sign up and join, we have more ideas than people in time. But we're so excited about all of the opportunities that the city is letting us do with all this. They had to pay money for us to be able to do this, but we appreciated that they did that because it was an opportunity for us to bring all these ideas. And this isn't like when you talk about the old guard, this is the first opportunity we've had to have a council support what the residents want to do that live here. And we all live here because we love it here. So we have a lot of exciting things. If anybody wants to sign up, I kindly brought applications for the EDC and also for the Planning Commission. We would love it if anybody wants to be involved, or if you just want to come to our meetings and bring your ideas and comments, we would love the participation. It's a really exciting time with the city, with what we have going on.
Yes, sir.
Is the Falls Chamber still active? There used to be a joint chamber of commerce between the two cities.
As an ambassador with the Falls Chamber, and Dominic is also with the board of directors, we are involved in Taylor's Falls, still looking to expand further with the local businesses.
It seemed like it had dissolved.
You got the answer. Okay. Any others? Alrighty then. Well, we'll close this out, and I just want to say again, on behalf of the CAP committee, We want to thank staff and city council for this wonderful opportunity to allow the community to create a long-term vision for Taylor's Falls and to assess not only the issues that currently exist, but more importantly, to imagine the future and all the fresh ideas and opportunities that can be created to constructively plan for the current and future needs of the community. Enabling the community to not just recommend potential projects impacting the lives of residents and visitors, but to create new opportunities to continue the community engagement, the ongoing support, and the potential project funding. Committee members, please stand. Please stand, all of you. Thank you for all your hard work, commitment to this project, and dedication to the future of Taylor's Falls. Thank you.